Welcome back to DR Bonsai. So I was having a little discussion the other night on our WhatsApp group, and it came up with Scott Winard's video. I asked the question that, do people think that it's overlooked, the choice of pots that people pick for trees that they're showing? And it brought up a little bit of a discussion that I thought maybe would be great for a video. So if I go and sit in the greenhouse and we'll get on. Okay, so it got me thinking that far too many people that are in this hobby in this country don't really worry about what pot they're using. You know, shape, glaze, and size of the pot is the main thing that I've noticed that people seem to overlook. Obviously when our trees are in our garden and we're growing them out, or we're not really too bothered about them being shown because we're still working to get them to an acceptable point, the pot's not too crucial. I mean, maybe, to be honest with you, we'd have them in something fairly deep, quite big, just so that they can put roots out and get strong. And also off the back of that is the fact is, if you've got a weak tree, then you're going to need to put it into a bigger pot to let it recover a little bit. So it's not wrong when you're in your garden to be using certain pots, but when you're trying to show a tree, right, you want to have the whole package. Well, when we're, trying to grow out branches and stuff, the best thing you can do is give it a bigger pot, because you're going to achieve that a lot quicker than if you try and put it into a smaller pot. Obviously, keeping them in a smaller pot is kind of restricting them a little bit. See, if you look around my garden, there's plenty of trees that are in the wrong type pot or style of pot, but that's okay, because I'm not prepared to show them as they are at the minute. They're not in a state where I'm going to be showing them. So that later down the line, then I'll think about picking the pot. So the relationship between the tree and the pot has to be harmonised. I think people concentrate too much about everything around the tree, like the accents and the stands. And for me personally, if you've got all of that on point but your pots don't really look that great, then it kind of spoils the whole look and feel of everything. So I think people in this country need to start really having a look at picking their pots correctly if they're going to be showing the trees. I think in the early days when I used to go and buy trees, I was very concerned on obviously buying the tree or the material and instantly trying to buy a pot. And the problem is over time, as that tree evolves and you get it to a certain position where you're wanting to show it, then the pot might be completely wrong for the tree. So my advice is to keep it in a training pot and grow everything out and get the shape that you're desiring before you decide to put it into a pot. If we look at this pot, right, the glaze on this pot, so this is a perfect example to me of where if you pick a certain glaze and a certain look to a pot, that it will pick up a certain feature of the tree. Now for me, when I picked this pot, it was the bark. Yeah, so you just by picking a certain glaze, you could pick out whatever type of part of the tree that you want to show off. So just by picking the right glaze, you could show off the foliage if that's what you wanted to show off, or if it was a flowering tree. So this is why I think it's very important to think about the pot that you're picking and not just chuck it in any old pot, because potentially a tree that's got a lovely feature to it, you could totally miss out if you pick the wrong pot. Okay, so if we look at this larch of mine, yeah, the reason I picked this pot, this glaze, is because as we come into autumn, this foliage will start to change like a golden colour. That will then pick up and match that look. And I think even once the foliage is gone and you get a winter silhouette, there's something about this glaze, this pot, that just gives it the right feel. It looks very antique. It almost makes the tree feel older than it is. So I think this is an exception, because as we know with larches, technically they're a conifer, but they're a deciduous conifer. So Some people might argue with me and say this should be an unglazed pot, but I personally think this is an exception to the rule because this is a deciduous conifer. I think you can get away with the glaze. Okay, so I missed these out on my garden tour, so I thought I'd try and figure out a way I could incorporate it into this chat. And this is a perfect example of so this tree here, when I was gifted it, the reason I was gifted it is because it kept dropping branches and Terry just had enough of it. I mean, if you look there, it's still got a bit of weakness going on, but I'm doing my best. I've only had it for just under a year now. Anyway, the pot that he gave me the tree in was very shallow, okay? And what I did was I just over potted it that slightly little bit more just to try and let it spread its legs out a little bit. And I'm hoping that will help it to gain some energy. It's doing okay. It's, you know, it's not dropping branches left, right and centre, but it needed that little bit more room, I think, to spread its feet out. And obviously I've been fertilising it quite heavy as well, just to try and let it gain some vigour. Not going to be the final pot, so I've actually got a larch over there that's got the pot that I want to use for this tree, but it needed this bigger pot to start with, I think. So this larch was originally in another drum pot and it looked perfect in that drum pot, and what it was, I saw this pot when I picked the other one that the Japanese white pine's in, and it was a toss-up between the two really to start with, but I thought that's a little bit deeper, and at the time I only had a certain budget. But I swore to myself if I went back and this pot was still there that I would buy it because it's a beautiful pot. And I decided to put this larch in it just to try it out, and the pot that this was originally in is this pot which these larches are in, and this pot here matches this tree perfectly. I should have just left it in this pot, to be honest with you, when I repotted it, but I just wanted to try it to see what the feel was like. And when you see it in this pot, you'll understand when I do finally put it back into this, they just work. There's a harmony between the two, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, is you can take away a feel from a tree just by the pot. So we need to be careful of that really. So this tree is another one that I missed off my little garden tour, and it was the white pine that I bought way back when I first started bonsai, and unfortunately I nearly killed it. At the time, yeah, it was a bit touch and go, to be honest with you. Had to repot this in the middle of summer with my friend Terry, and when we took it out there was little to no roots. So what I did was I just, you know, let the tree gain some energy again, regains a little bit more health. I used a product in the end called Danu, and I found that it really did help. You know, it was doing okay, it was doing a lot better, but once I'd given it a couple of shots with a Danu, it really picked up. So I got it to the point where then I could put it into a training pot, this training pot. This is where I'm just letting it now gain some energy, enough that next year what we'll do, we're going to go in and we're going to style this tree. It's going to end up a cascade. So I know a lot of people really don't like the ideas of rules or being told, shall we say, what to do, but that's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you understand the importance of certain aspects when we do bonsai, and a pot is definitely something that you need to think about if you're going to be showing it. It can really put people off your tree if the tree is in the wrong pot, and even the judges, you know, they'll look at stuff like that and they'll be looking for you to harmonise the pot with the tree. I hope you all liked that little video. Hope I didn't go on too much. If you did, could you just hit that little like button for me? That'd be great. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks to everyone who's already following me. Big shout out to all the WhatsApp group because they kind of inspired this video a little bit the other day. Definitely shout out to Ryan Forth, Horton Bonsai, and Scott Winard, Let's Do Bonsai, because they were the guys that really I had the conversation with most. So yeah, go and check out their channels. Hope to catch you again next week, and everyone take care.